were at school. I teach high school at Henryville, and we'd heard some stuff for the 2 days before that there was going to be bad storms, but we hear that all the time. So I don't think that too many people at school took it seriously. We were at school that day, and I can remember at, I think it was 2:35, 2:40 p.m., they made an announcement that they were letting the students out early. Well, a lot of our teachers there, we think we overreact too much about snow, ice, and to let us out that early, 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes early, we thought was ridiculous. I can remember getting on the phone and calling one of the teachers, and we kind of laughed about it. And they let the students out. And I remember I didn't really have anything to do, so I went up to the front of the school. And when I got up to the front of the school, it was about 2:45, and the sirens were going off in town. And I was helping parents that were coming up to get their children. And we had so many kids. We still had probably about 20 kids in the hallways, and we told them to get to the hallways. Again, I didn't take it seriously, and I had a runner. Parents would come up, I'd tell them to go get the kid, they would come back, and I mean, people were coming up just distraught, upset, scared, and numerous times, relax, calm down, we've been through this before, it's not that big of a deal, everything's going to be fine. And one of the people that I told that, they lost everything. They got home, and I'm sitting here telling them everything's going to be fine, but I was just trying to calm them down in the situation. At about 2:55, 3 o'clock is when we finally got our last student out, and the sirens were still going off in town. And I can remember I went to my room because I needed to make a phone call because I'd tried to get a hold of someone earlier that day, and the only place I could get reception is up against my window for my cell phone. And as I'm talking on the phone, I can see that the sky is gray, but again, we've seen that numerous times. As I'm on the phone, 2 other teachers come into my room and are standing around waiting for me to get off the phone. Well, I'm on the phone too long. What they did was went to the girls basketball coach's office, which is a safe place. So I get off the phone, I look at it, and one of the coaches had texted me, "We're in my office, come there." Why? It's going to be a storm, we're going to see some wind, it's not that big of a deal. So I walked down to his office, and as I got out of my room, the principal, Troy Albert, went over the intercom and said, "Everyone get to a safe place immediately." Okay, so I go down there, and it's probably maybe 10 yards, maybe not even that far from the gymnasium that imploded, Furnace Gymnasium. And I got into the office, and I couldn't stand being in that enclosed area. So I decided that I was going to go out and look, just watch the storm come through. So I got up and I walked out of there, and as I walked out, I saw a custodian, and I told her that she needed to get into the coach's office. I don't know why I told her that, because I wasn't taking it seriously, but she listened to me. So there were 2 coaches, Kyle Lewis, Josh Conrad, and this custodian in there. I go to a classroom that's next to mine, which is actually closer to the coach's office. And I walked to the windows and I looked up at the sky, and I probably was there for about 30 seconds. And the sun to the south was out. To the south, the sun was out, but right above us, it was gray, black, purple. It just didn't look right. And I thought, you know what, I think I'm gonna go back to the office. And I got out of that classroom, shut the door, and I can remember hearing the word "run." And I just kind of jogged and ran to the coach's office. And no sooner than I got to the door of the coach's office, I opened it up, and the coaches were sitting there, and you could hear the wind. And I remember going, "Do you guys hear that wind?" And I shut the door, and my ears popped. And not like a pop like, you're going up a hill on a car. It was almost like your brain was being sucked out of your head pop. And I can remember I looked at them and I said, "My ears just popped." And then they popped again, and I went, "They just popped again, that can't be good." And then that's when the gym wall imploded, and we hit the ground, and it was probably about 15 seconds of shaking and rattling, and it was black. The fire alarm was going off, and I knew something bad had happened, but I didn't know quite what had happened. And I can remember opening the door of the coach's office and looking out, and it's just a hallway, so you don't really see much. But I can remember there were wires down, and the water lines had ruptured, so water's starting to come down. You know, this is Friday, and I can remember when I looked at that, I thought, well, we're not going to have school Monday. I mean, that was my thought. I didn't realize how bad it was. And then you could look out to the left, and around the corner you could see sunlight coming in where the gym had been. So I knew something bad had happened. We eventually, we were afraid with water and lines down. We didn't know where to go, what to do. So we made our way through the weight room, and that's when we got into one of the main hallways. And there were lockers off the walls. There were doors that had been thrown from one end of the hallway, probably 30 yards, 40 yards, and I mean, it was just completely torn up in the hallways. And my wife teaches in elementary, and I'd seen that hallway and I knew it was bad. But I wanted to find my wife. It never entered my mind that she would be injured or hurt. And I ended up going out the hallway that when you open the doors, you see Pine Drive. And when I hit those doors, I knew something really, really, really bad had happened. And it was like a scene out of a movie. It was, it was surreal. It was like, this can't be, is this really happening? A train was coming through town and it was stopping. State police officers came and swung his car around to stop traffic coming down 31. And I hit those doors and I went around. After I stopped and saw that, I went around the corner of the building. I saw the bus and the restaurant. And when I went around to the front of the school, it was gone. The whole front of the school was gone. And I thought to myself, well, I can't get through there to find my wife. I'm going to go back to the school. As I'm standing there trying to contemplate what to do, it starts to rain. And I didn't realize a second tornado was coming through. I come back around and go to the doors that I had gone out, and somebody had actually propped them open, or I would have been stuck outside. I got inside and I ran down the hallway, and the girls basketball coach, Josh Conrad, came to me and said, we need to take cover again. And I said, where? Because everything was just destroyed. And then we looked down the hallway and watched the hell come down. And you're talking softball. I call it shot put. It was literally so big, and it was just, and we watched the hell come down, and then that's when we made our way to the high school office. And we ended up getting up there, and the sirens going off, and we have a few kids and adults that are upset. And, it's just, you kind of go into survival mode at that time. We eventually made it through the front of the school. We came out through the group presentation room that was destroyed, and you could smell gas. And I actually ran from there down to here at the community building. This is the first time I've been in here since March 2nd. And that's when I found my wife. And right here, we hugged and kissed, and we cried, and we did that for about 5, 6, 7 seconds, and 10 seconds, and then we went back. I went back to helping people, and she went to taking care of the kids that she had. Probably the hardest thing for me that day was that morning. I had really gotten on my children. They were 7 and 3, and they weren't acting the way that I think they should. So I was pretty harsh on them. And I can remember driving to school that morning thinking, I need to do better in the morning, no matter how upset I am, of letting them know I love them, because I didn't do that when I left. And I can remember driving to town that day into school thinking, if I were in a car wreck now, or something were to happen, that would be the last memory they had of me. And, just like even now, it kind of bothers me, because that's what really upset me more than anything was that, my children could have lost their father, and their last memory is of him being angry with them. And I don't know, it's just been, that day was a blur. We ended up calling my father-in-law, who drove up. We walked through town, got in the car, and went home. I live in Sellersburg, so, unlike the heroes that live in this town, I'm from Henryville, but unlike the heroes that live here, that night I got to take a warm shower and sleep in my bed with a roof over my head. And at the time I didn't think much about it, but I still have a little bit of guilt about that, because these people what they had to live through and what they're still living through is just amazing. To me, it's probably the first week and then the time after. What it was the tornado was on Friday. My uncle Wayne Hunter was the only individual that passed away because of the tornado. And so we had that, we were dealing with that. On Sunday, it was so cold, but we went to his house. My dad, David Hunter, his brother, wanted to get there to the house and go through and get as much stuff as he could that was valuable because, unfortunately, looters. He was afraid of that. My aunt, Lenora Hunter, she was in the hospital because she was injured severely from it. She survived. But Monday, the snow hit, Sunday night, Monday, but on Monday morning, my wife, Christy, and another teacher from the elementary, Amanda Hill, and myself, actually went to the hospital and saw Daryl and Trish Gillis, Stephanie Decker, the Gillis children. We went to see them and just see how they were doing. But then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was dealing with my uncle's death, and we had the funeral here in town. And then Friday night, I guess I was in shock that whole week. And Friday night, about 2 or 3 in the morning, I woke up with a severe panic attack. And if it hadn't been for my wife, I probably would have gone to the emergency room. But what had happened is physically I wasn't injured, but psychologically I was starting to deal with some things. I guess my body was telling me it was time to recognize and deal with everything that I had seen. It got pretty bad for me psychologically. I ended up going to my doctor and then talking to some people and getting some medication, and that helped quite a bit. And I can remember I went to Indonesia this summer, and I was dealing with anxiety and panic attacks. I went to Indonesia with Athletes in Action, a faith-based basketball team. And our team chaplain said something at the time that struck me, but I didn't realize, and he was right. He told me, he said, this is not going to last, right? You will get over this. And at the time, I just assumed that I was going to always feel the way that I did, this is how it was, and I was going to have to learn how to deal with this. And I can remember when he said that, it made me feel better, but I wasn't sure. And it is. We're getting here on a year, and I feel like more days than not, I feel like the old me compared to the one after that time. So I mean, just being, and again, I was able to come up here and help some. I was able to put some people in contact with people to make them feel better. But I'm no hero. To come up here and to see what people live through and to not be able to have to see the trees down and the devastation. I mean, I can't imagine if I had to live in the middle of this while it was going on. If it doesn't change you, then what's the reason for all of it? I mean, it's changed you because I think you have an appreciation for things that you didn't have before. I think no matter how much you say it, that you appreciate life, you appreciate your family, you appreciate your friends, you don't understand it until you start to come to grips with the fact that you could have died or that somebody else could have died. I mean, it's like training. It's like I don't know, playing a video game where you drive a car and you think you know how to drive until you get behind the wheel of a car and you've got others passing you. It's a whole different situation. It's changed me in that I think I'm more patient. I try to be. I think unfortunately, we're starting to get back to where I think it changes you greatly immediately for 6 months, 7 months. But as you get further away from it, I think you kind of go back to what you were before. And I think you have to be reminded over and over again to appreciate what you have and to remember what it felt like. And if maybe it's somebody telling you, or maybe it's seeing Hattiesburg with the EF3 that went through there, or some other thing that reminds you that you've been through that. I've also learned too that if you're going to help communities, that it's better probably to find someone in that community that you can send money to, because the bureaucracy of everything slowed down so much here in helping others. And I know people who've given money to try to help the school, help this, help that, and those institutions still haven't seen a lot of that money. So I've learned that reach out to someone specifically. Don't give to an organization, and that may sound bad, but that's my personal what I think about it. No, it has to change you. It has to. Living in Sellersburg, I'm not sure as much. I'm not in it as much. How's it changed the community? I think the kids teaching at the high school, they are much more appreciative of things, I think. It has to. Well, I've said this. Our school has grown. About 6-7 years ago, in the early 2000s, our school started to get bigger. We had a lot of people moving from outside in. So you had kind of this group of Henryville people that were here before this new people moved in, and then these new people who didn't really get the old Henryville people. So there was this kind of a division. Now we have a uniting experience. The people that have moved in and the people that were here now have a uniting experience. And I think that, as much as anything, has brought the community together. Signs of hope. I would say that rebuilding. I mean, the new gas station and Subway's back now. I can remember coming in to help out, and it seemed like for 2, 3, 4 weeks it was just tearing down of things. They were tearing things down, and in the landscape, the town that you grew up in was changing every day. Some new building, some building that was been around here for years was gone. And I can remember the day I came, it was about, I don't know, a month later, they were starting to rebuild. And to me, it was such a significant change from tearing down to rebuilding that gave me hope. I can't speak for anyone else, but it gave me hope, and I would say that it gave a lot of other people hope too. There is no script that you follow. Any feelings that you have are legitimate. You should not feel less or more than someone else. If you're having feelings and you don't know where they're coming from, it's okay, because people have run the gamut here, from anger to sadness to anxiety, panic. If you feel like we've had a lot of people dealing with a lot of issues, and it's important to reach out. Hopefully if people see this in 20 years, that they're not having to learn the lesson again, that they're realizing to reach out to other people, to reach out to professional organizations for help. I think the biggest thing is that I see it as a blessing. I see this as an unbelievable blessing, this tornado hitting this town. I'm sure there are people who aren't there yet, and I'm sure there are people who would be angry for me to say that, but we have been able to see the absolute best in people, and we've seen the worst in people, as far as helping and stealing things from people when they're in their worst moments. And I think we've seen how people have reacted positively in horrible situations, and we've seen people react negatively. And I mean, it's been a blessing to see human nature at work, and to see, we've learned lessons here that other communities will never get to learn. And whether that's good or bad, I don't know. It's not one that we probably wanted to learn, but if we take it and use it correctly, I think like I said, it's just been a blessing to me personally. It wasn't a woe is me. We didn't react. We weren't victims. We were victimized, but we weren't victims. Of course, there are going to be situations in which that happens, but it's, again, people say cliche things, but we kind of pulled the bootstraps up and got to work, and we cleaned up, we built up, and we helped up our fellow human beings here in town, and that we didn't give up. I'm a happier person. I try to hug more people and tell them I love them. I don't ever want to forget the feelings that I've had in the last year, because it's taught me a lot about my faith, and it's taught me a lot about my fellow human beings. I love them. They're still awful some days, but they're 8 and 4 now, and no matter how bad they are in the morning, I make sure I kiss them and tell them I love them, and then tell them I'm not happy with you, but I love you, and my wife. I mean, it's made our family. It's made me a better person, so therefore it's made me a better father and a better husband. Hopefully that's what they'll say in a couple of years.